As Halloween is coming to an end in a week's time on Adoption Island, today I'm going to be giving you guys some tips and tricks on how to earn the most amount of candy possible before this update ends. So let's get straight into it.
We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a...
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm in Adopt Me and I'll be telling you guys tips and tricks on how to grind candy fast. I'll be going over all 4 minigames as well as other little ways to earn candy to help you achieve your goal to get everything you want, as I know so many people are loving this year's Halloween update. Just a small disclaimer, even though these tips and tricks can be helpful, they won't determine how much candy you get, especially in games such as the Hauntlet, as that's luck based, but hopefully it makes it easier. So let's get on with the first minigame. The Hauntlet. The first minigame added to this year's Halloween update where you have to go through doors and see how far you can get, and you may even be able to beat it. Not only do you get candy from this minigame, but you also get a bunch of bucks and you may even be lucky enough to get a yarn apple. So what is the best way to earn candy from this minigame? First of all, the one thing I would recommend is playing in public servers or with friends. Of course, not everyone will communicate in public servers unless you want to do a Discord run, but it's much easier with more people. And obviously, if you think public servers aren't the way to go about it, you can always play with friends. It is doable alone, but it gets easier the more people you're playing with. The main reason for this is because you can share the items you get. What I mean is, no, you can't give someone a heart potion, but if you both have a cell, you can take turns using them. And that's another thing that will help, knowing how to use the items. It may sound silly, but making sure you use your items correctly helps a ton. As I've said already, telling people you'll use an item will help them know, and then they can save theirs for the next room. This is the exact same thing with wands. Wands are rare and they tell you the right doors, so it's better to not use them at the same time, but it's also better to use them when you have rarer and harder doors, as you'll have a higher chance of only one of the doors being right. This is the same with ghost repellents. Don't always use them on easy doors. Save them for when 2 or more doors are hard, as there's more likely going to be something bad behind it. Another thing to note is the gold keys. If you have a gold key, make sure you don't use it on a regular locked door, as golden keys are vital. Not only are golden doors always safe, but they always give you a golden heart potion to then give you an extra heart, which will then help you when you get further into the game where you'll have to face the Phantom Dragon and Patchy. Another thing with heart potions, unless you have to of course, make sure you only use them when you have 1 heart left, as if you had 3 hearts for example, rather than using a potion and healing 1 heart, you'll be able to heal 2. And this will also mean you can survive for longer, meaning more candy. And of course, if you need even more help, there's always the book by the minigame, which will tell you everything you need to know. Another thing to help you as well is to know what doors things spawn at. For example, the first door you enter is always safe. The yellow rooms will only ever have 1 bad door, and the red rooms have a chance of having up to 2. Up until door 50, you'll only get ghosts, which deal 1 heart, but after that you'll also get Phantom Dragons that deal 2 hearts. Then, I'm not fully sure, but about door 85 and above, you'll get Patchy, who deals 3 hearts. This could vary, but he's normally closest to the end, so making sure you have some items till then is also vital. And then, not only with strategy, but with luck, you may be able to beat the Hauntlet, which will give you a maximum of 21,000 candy. So now you know how to beat the Hauntlet, let's move on to the next minigame. Sleep and Treat is a trick or treat minigame. Within this minigame, you have to knock on doors to get candy, and whilst you try get your candy back, you have to avoid monsters. You have about 2 minutes to get as much candy as possible, and here's the best ways to do it. The first thing to note is that there may be certain items on the floor. You will either find headphones that stop the monster's music playing, and you can avoid it putting you to sleep, or you'll find speed potions which will make you faster for a certain amount of time. My main tip for these is to use the headphones if the monsters are nearby, or use a speed potion to go further down the neighbourhood to find gold houses. The reason for this is because golden houses give more candy. They give between 30 and 40, meaning rather than knocking on 6 houses, you may only have to knock on 3 with a gold house to get a full bucket of 60 candy to bring back to the middle, as normal houses give between 5 and 30. My next tip for this minigame is to keep going and try knocking as many houses as possible. What I mean is to constantly keep running and try to continuously knock on doors, so you can keep bringing candy back and to try get as much as possible. However, when the time is almost up, if there's about 10 seconds left and your bucket isn't full, I reckon to go back to the middle, otherwise you may lose out on the candy that is still in your bucket. Another small tip for this minigame is to go through alleyways to avoid monsters, as well as hiding in bins if they're nearby. This is essential as it can be really irritating when they make you fall asleep, and it can waste time, meaning it's easier to avoid it for a second, then go back and so forth. Finally, when you have 30 seconds left, the sugar rush effect will happen. With this, I recommend going to the golden houses houses further away so you can run back and forth quicker to then get more candy from these houses rather than knocking on some that give very little. This will give you a chance of getting the most candy possible. The highest score I have ever gotten from this minigame was about 300, which gave me about 3.6k candy, and neither did I fall asleep at all. But anyways, let's move on to the next minigame. Now for this next minigame, there's no real strategy to get candy. Whether you play in a public or a private server, you'll still get about the same amount. But this candy is still vital when you're grinding for your goal. The only real tip I have for the costume party minigame is to choose a pet people like and try your best to make it have a good outfit. Obviously, that's the whole point of the game, but people sometimes vote depending what pet you have. So choosing a pet people like may mean they vote you, and you may have a higher chance of winning and getting the most candy out of this minigame, that being 3,300. However, this minigame is still really fun, and considering it is a spookified version of the 2023 Springfest minigame, I still love it. But of course, still play this minigame as you can take a nice calm break from the other minigames that will probably stress you out. And as the final week of Halloween swept in, another returning minigame decided to come back to say hello, the Scare Bear minigame. This minigame is a sort of murder mystery minigame where you may be a hunter, a bear, or a survivor. So let's start with being a survivor, as this is the most likely option. When you're a survivor, you basically run around, try not to be killed by the bear, and you can collect candy as well as hide. However, the best way to play as a survivor is to keep running, but also avoiding anyone you see as they may transform into a bear. Of course, you can hide, but if a bear finds you, that will be it, and you want to survive as long as you can to get more candy. On top of this, survivors may be able to pick up the hunter's net if they have died, meaning you can shoot the bear and win. For the hunter, again, the same as survivor, but you have to be on alert for when someone changes into a bear, therefore shooting them and winning. Now, for the bear. Probably the most fun bit of this minigame, but possibly the hardest. For the bear, you have to kill as many people as possible, but be careful when you transform as you stand still for a couple seconds, and this will give the hunter a chance to get you or for a survivor to get away. The best strategy for this minigame is to try going to vents or behind a corner when you transform, and then run around trying to find people. And then either when the time runs out or you've got everyone, then you'll get as much candy as possible. And as it's continuous, you can continue to grind candy. Hopefully you've now mastered all the minigames, know the best ways to get candy, and most of all, have fun. But is there other ways to get candy on top of all 4 minigames? Yes, there is. Another small way to get your hands on some candy is by taking the treat from the candy sack where the horseman is. From this, you can get from 250 candy up to 1,000 every 10 minutes. And on top of this, you may even be lucky enough to get yarn apples for some kitty bats. Of course, it may be small, but over time, it will add up. Another small way to get candy is the task. There are 3 tasks that your pets can get: running up the organ, dressing up to show the neighborhood, as well as hopping on the lily pads. These all give 100 candy, and again, it may be small, but it will help you in the long run. And talking of the lily pads, you can also hop on all 6, giving 10 candy each, so if every Adopt Me day, you can get 60 bits of candy. And finally, the latest addition to this Halloween update, a tornado. This tornado is unpredictable, there's no set time for when or where it spawns. I could be wrong, but when it does, it shows up for a minute or 2 and you can get some candy from it. Again, this may not give much, but it's handy for if you're a little short of buying something with your candy. Hopefully this has helped you all with your grinding. Hopefully these tips and tricks will help you with every minigame, as well as other little ways to get candy, and on top of everything, the weekend of Halloween. Adopt Me are doing a candy bonus weekend, so make sure you join Adopt Me on the last days of Halloween to make sure you get absolutely everything you want. And that is it. Every possible way and strategy to get candy. This has helped me with my goal of candy, and I will do a spending video sometime next week, so look out for that. But either way, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, I'd appreciate if you left a like and subscribe with notifications to not miss any other videos. My socials will also be linked below, and comment below whether this video has helped you, as well as how much candy you've grinded so far or what you've brought with it. Of course, again, for these type of videos, I've done a script, so the support on this video would be appreciated, as this took a lot of time and effort. Anyways, hopefully you all have a happy Halloween, and I will see you all in the next video. So I love you all, and goodbye.